Right, so you've got to put up the second fiddle, so please excuse me as we go through. We've got a couple of IT issues before we start. I think Alan thinks that Breckland did it before they left. So unfortunately, we haven't got the street view pictures that we would normally have a chance to look at on the screen on your left. But we can go through all the plans that you've seen in your packs. And of course, Mark Webster's with us, who's going to help us out, or going to help me out massively. So members of the public, delighted to see you here. You seem an awful long way away, or perhaps it's just my eyes. For you and your representatives, you can attend the meeting. Due to fire precautions, there is limited seating for you, but I think you've got plenty of room. There is a recording of this meeting if you want to catch up with anything afterwards that you've missed, you didn't understand. And usually that's on within 5 working days. So if we're all happy, we'll start with, first off, are there any 1324, any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests? No, thank you very much. Apologies for absence, Karen. Thank you. You're going to have to appear from the telly every time.
Change on the telly.
At least that works, yeah. Okay, the minutes, 1524, we confirm the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 9th of April 2024, which was received by Council on the 30th of April as a true record and be signed and issued by the committee chairman. Can we agree on the accuracy of those minutes?
Agreed.
I will do my ceremonial signing of the piece of paper as well. There it is. Okay, thank you. Right, moving on. 1624, planning applications to consider, to discuss and agree the following. Plan A, 0308. Now, unfortunately, my internet isn't working either, so you'll have to excuse me if I do a little bit of side saddle here and again, just to check what we've got on screen. The first one we're looking at is a full consultation. The applicant is the Albion, proposed use of existing pub access to serve 4 dwellings consented under permission, and that's at the Albion, Castle Street. Thank you.
I don't have a light. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
You've got to press the
Just put it on the side. Hold it until the display comes on.
No, it's round this side. There's a red.
Hold it over.
Could you put it round this side? Look, that red button.
It should be on.
Press it. There you go. Hold it until the display comes on.
Oh.
There you
go. And it's twisted.
Right, welcome to the modern world, everyone. Okay, thanks very much. So, if you have a, hopefully you can see on one form or another, the plan as shown at the top there. So the original proposals were plan number 0215. This is an infill development, and the council, town council, was objected to it on the grounds that you can see up there. But permission was granted by Breckland for this to go ahead. So next bit, yeah. So again, just slightly more detail on that plan. There, showing the red markings for the proposed access for that. And if we could go down to the bit of the text, I'm not proposing to read all of this out. Hopefully that you have had a chance to have a look through all of these. But basically, there is a proposed change to the vehicle and pedestrian access. So instead of this access being available to users of staff and potentially visitors and users of the flat above, that is proposed to be the access point for this new development. So can we go down to the picture, Alan? Will you be able to see Yeah, so you can see the view there of what was the proposed access down the side road via Lambert's. And if we could go on to the next picture, and you can see now the proposed where that access is proposed to be. So that was the red marking on the previous slides at the side of the pub there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Any comments? Terry?
Thank you. I think this application was bad enough when they were trying to infill round the back, but at least then the proposed access was off of Lambert's, which was an actual road into the development and minimal conflict with pedestrians. I'm amazed if they think they can get regular cars in and out of that tiny space, and in doing so, they're going to have to cross the footpath. And one which is immediately next to a pub. I mean, you know, can nobody foresee some of the potential conflicts here with, you know, people sitting outside drinking, walking past, what have you? So from a safety point of view, I think the proposal is quite concerning. There isn't actually any comments online yet from highways. I would be amazed if highways don't have an objection to this because, you know, there's major public safety concerns. So I think we should be objecting.
On the safety, sorry, if I may, please, on the safety front, you know, children are in that pub garden. And there's, yeah, I think it's absurd. On a safety concern on that, I think it's a very strong no, we should not allow in that.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Dave. Can we just use our microphones? Not for me, it's
Sorry.
for, yeah, I'll use my microphone now. So if we all do it because other people can't hear, thanks. Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not really highlighted on the map or the photograph here, but what you also have opposite the entrance is a drive to another development, or actually on Castle Street. So you're effectively building a crossroads across a fairly busy road. I agree with Councillor Jeremy, it's not appropriate. There are all sorts of danger concerns. And it's not difficult to foresee becoming an accident spot. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Carla?
No, it's not great. Hold.
Hold it in.
Okay, now press it. Press that button.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good. I was just gonna ask, you said you don't have any comments from highways on this one. Are we gathering any comments from highways, or we just having to make a decision without that input? And if we don't getting any comments, then I'd say common sense and judgment will say that besides all the points mentioned, which I'll not repeat, which is safety, people crossing, etc., is the visibility, because it's two busy roads. If you were to cross with a car from one side to the other, the visibility as a car, as a driver itself, will be minimal. It doesn't make any sense to put a crossing there. It's dangerous and it's reckless, in my perspective. Thank you.
Agreed. And also the previous transport statement only referred to that access from Lambert's. So this is a complete change in what we're looking at now. Terry's absolutely right, both Terry's, in that the road that's going to come out onto actually goes into another lay-by as well. And that access is often blocked by other cars. So we're compounding the situation more and more by putting it in there. So I think we're all pretty much in agreement, unless there's any other questions. Can I ask that we're going to object to that on safety grounds, in particular, the access through what is a pedestrian area?
Agreed.
Okay, agreed. Any other points?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to, oh, sorry, Chris.
We have a member of the public who wants to speak on one of the applications. Could we switch the agenda around so he doesn't have to sit through the whole lot?
Yes, we could do that.
That's I-1076, yeah?
And 6.
Which is, thank you.
7-6.
Very road.
Like that. What do you go for this?
Chaos.
Aye. 1076.
So this is the application for venture contract lighting limited, conversion and extension of annex and outbuilding to form one dwelling and erection of one dwelling. Closure of existing vehicular access, creation of a new vehicular access and provision of landscaping, land to the rear of 57 Berry Road, Thetford. Excuse me, sir, would you like to speak on that?
You don't mind.
No, please do. And you're welcome to come forward and use the microphone at the end there. Thank you.
Like this, because you're struggling.
Yeah. Somebody open that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you've supported the local residents on this one. And it's been something like 4 or 5 years now. I'm struggling, and I think I probably need some help now. The planning office is about to change. I felt that he supported us, but we've got a new planning officer coming in. Now, I'm not getting anywhere on the information that's being provided. So local residents actually can't see what's going on in full. So we've struggled with the site plan, which looks very pretty, but that actually doesn't give you the information you want, and it's virtually unreadable. The colours are the problem, I think. But we're struggling on 3 fronts. The tree report. The tree report is wrong. It's incorrect in several respects. And I keep on asking for an updated one. And I can't get anywhere with them. And the problem with the tree report is that they've got the trees incorrectly named. There's trees in adjacent and adjoining gardens where they show no height protection. And the main tree on the whole site is the one from Mill Lane, which you'll see as you go, where the new access road is going. The access road just destroy that, and it's a mature, healthy tree, and there's no proposal there for any root protection whatsoever. Now, when I make these points and ask for another horticultural report, I don't get one. So if the council can raise that issue, that'd be very much appreciated by the local residents, because we're being outgunned, basically. And I think we need to call in the heavy mob. Maybe you don't mind being called the heavy mob.
I'm not sure we consider ourselves as a heavy mob, so this has certainly been on our radar for some time.
Yeah. The next item is the ramp. Now, you've objected to this in the strongest terms. Thank you very much for that, because that new access on Mill Lane is seriously dangerous. And I think if this goes ahead, there's going to be a fatal accident, I think, serious or fatal accident. We can't convince highways, and I think if we just keep on making the case, and now I think they're just digging and don't want to lose space. But we know that Mill Lane is a rat run. It's very busy. You get HGVs doing shortcuts from the Berry Road when Berry Road is busy. There's a pavement only on one side. There must be 100 pedestrians going along the front of that site where the new access is going. Children to and from school, OAPs, people on buggies. And that access is opposite another access to 19 to 21 Mill Lane. So you're actually forming a crossroads. Now, the traffic on the new access road, because the access road isn't up to the highway standards, it should be 5 metres, it's only about 4.8. You're going to get vehicles actually backing on to Mill Lane across the pavement, unseen by pedestrians, unseen by traffic going left and right. At the same time as somebody could be reversing from the road opposite. for some extraordinary reason, I don't think highways have ever been to site actually. I think they've done a desktop exercise only. They've reduced the visibility displays for some extraordinary reason. And I don't know if it's because they have a remit to encourage housing around the county, but the visibility displays are the normal dimensions for what's classified as a quiet country road, unbelievably. And Mill Lane certainly isn't that. It's a busy urban road in the town centre. So we can't get this through to them. I mean, you've kept it before on these grounds, but the messages you've been getting through. But the most important thing that we need now is the ramp. There's a ramp coming up from Mill Lane onto the level of the site. And they've never once given us a site section. They've never once drawn on that plan where it is, the length, and they haven't once told us what the gradient is. There's just a note on that drawing above it saying that the ramp will be 1 in 12, but 1 in 12 is impossible. We've looked at the levels. I think the best they can do is 1 in 8. And health and safety won't allow anything less than 1 in 12. So it's actually dangerous. And there'll be vehicles running down that ramp in forward or reverse gear, straight out to Mill Lane with very limited visibility. I mean, this is a serious fatal accident about to happen. And then finally, if I could just talk very quickly about the ecological appraisal. There's one on the site, and by their own admission, they call it a preliminary ecological appraisal. They say it cannot be considered to provide a comprehensive survey of the ecological interest of the site. So in other words, it's useless. There's, it says the report has limited comprehensiveness to the ecological assessment because the site was inspected at the wrong time of the year. And they say summer surveys between May and September and considered optimal. That's particularly for the reptiles and the bats, both of which are protected species. And that summer survey hasn't been done between May and September. So it's a preliminary ecological appraisal. They've admitted that it's inconclusive and fraud, and I can't get the council to do another one. So that's the situation we're in. For the first time ever, Friday night, I was out in the garden at 9 p.m. and the bats were there. And it's absolutely fantastic. I've never seen anything like it. Big Australian bats, no bigger than my hand. And the old dairy, which is the derelict building, that U-shaped building at the top, which in fact is beyond repair and conversion. I don't know why they're even going to try it. That's the perfect habitat for bats. And I'm positive the bats are in there. I'm positive there's the common lizard on the waste ground. But they won't have got the report. And that's where I stand. So I'm in a pickle, and the residents are in a pickle, and we just need your help, please.
Well, I certainly appreciate you coming along, and we've been living this planning process for this particular area for quite a while, but not living it as close as you are. And so your very in-depth local knowledge is important in helping us, with the decisions that we're trying to get to. I think if it's okay with the rest of the councillors, I'm going to ask you to stay there because we're going to go through what Mark might talk us through now. And then also I'll take some questions, but I'd like the ability to re-question you on some of our facts, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that all right with everybody? Right. Mark, could you just knock your microphone off for me? Just press the button on the front there. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, perhaps if we go through what's written on the presentation pack, and then we can also look at some of the other points that have been raised if you wish. So you can see on there the plan that I think has been referred to. So you are looking at, for the purposes of this application, changes in question. I've highlighted with the blue arrows pointing to them. There will be extremely tiny writing when you see it on the original, but obviously it's possible to expand on it. So I've done there. So hopefully you've all had a chance to have a look at those changes there. There are also, and again, this is what we're being asked to comment on at this stage rather than the whole application. There is a structural report that was originally submitted to Breckland, and the building control, obviously up in Breckland, has produced a comment which you can see at the top there, and there was a response in the form of a technical note from the applicant structural engineer, which again I don't propose to read through, but hopefully everyone's had a chance to have a look at that. On the question of the back survey, I can confirm that the back survey did take place according to their report in July. And they did, that's a emergent survey. So they did see bats in the area, flying in the area. They have assessed the buildings as negligible or low chance of bat likelihood. They do, as I said, see them in the area, but they are not felt to be using the building at the stage when the survey took place. That was a couple of years ago, and the survey does recommend a resurvey in 18 months' time from then, if no development has taken place, in case any major changes has taken place to the building, which would render it suitable for bats. So on that matter, hopefully I can confirm some facts for you there. On the matter of the trees, I'm, as I said, not being right on the site anymore. I can not offer much further, except I don't think either of the two trees in question is likely to affect Breckland's decision. And on the fact of the access, I think I'm right in saying last time I looked was last night, and if anyone's had a more recent look, I don't think there is a highways comment referred to the most recent. No, still not. So, as I said, that's beyond my technical abilities to assess matters of ramp levels and comparing it to highways report, but they have not come back on those issues further. Shall I leave it to you at that point, Chair?
Yes, please. I think you had a couple of points just to raise on that.
It was just about the ecology survey. It hasn't been done for 2 years. That is the point. And a lot can change in 2 years in ecological terms. I do really believe that bats and reptiles are on the site. So I think we should at least request that that's updated. And a full appraisal be done. I mean, I don't know why they continue to call this a preliminary appraisal.
Right. Yeah, good. Answer that. Oops, I've gone off again. Yeah, I think we should take those phrases with a slight pinch of salt. I could sit on that site 24 hours a day for 2 years, and I could still say I haven't done a full ecological appraisal. Having seen a lot of these reports, that is a sort of standard phrase, which I should imagine has been cut and pasted from every single report done by that organisation, and indeed every other organisation that does bat surveys. So I think that is a phrase that is used to cover themselves in case something else turns up. As I said, if you sat there forever, a white-tailed eagle could fly around behind you and you wouldn't notice it. So they will always say, we haven't done an absolutely full ecological survey because there could always be something else that they haven't found and they're trying to cover themselves. So you should, I think, perhaps just read it in the context that no ecological survey done on any site is ever 100% comprehensive on the front.
Understood, Mark. Thank you very much. I think before we go to any points from the councillors, there's two things that appear to me. Firstly, we haven't got the information about the amount of traffic that uses Mill Road. We all know it's a bit of a rat run. We all know that, but we haven't got any actual data. We do have a device within Town Council remit if we could cite it there, and that's the SAM 2. So that may help with some of that data, because it tells you how many cars are going up and down there. Might be a bit late. On the other point, would it make any difference if we could capture information that there are bats on the site?
I mean, and a sighting by a not qualified person, I'm afraid, is not going to carry much weight. If there was proof of bats in the building, then that would be significant. As I said, the ecological survey does call for that survey to be repeated, specifically in the matter of the bats, within 18 months if development hasn't taken place, which I believe is the case in this scenario. It was 2022, the survey, and therefore, July 2022, the dusk emergence survey was actually carried out. So it is due for another survey according to the consultant's report.
So in fact, we could ask for another one of those at the very least. I mean, I've watched Scooby-Doo plenty of times, but that's no guarantee. So we could do that. On that note, could I ask for any points from any of the councillors, please? Terry first. Terry Lamb.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sitting here looking at this document in the Word format on my laptop. I've magnified it to 500%, and there are 5 comments in red on here. At that ultimate magnification, I was like, yeah, I can't read the comments, so I chuck it out on that alone. I think that's deliberately obfuscatory.
I think it's one of the worst we've seen. Thank you. Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've been fighting with Mr. Reid this planning application ever since I've been a councillor. It's one of the first things I was given a piece of work. We've come down from 5 homes to 3 to 1. We have an historical site there of the Thetford Old Church. We thought on that, the trees, it's obvious there are bats in that building because it's there. The major thing though is when I spoke to Highways about Mill Lane, they said it was a quiet lane. And I said to a lady at Norwich, have you ever been to Mill Lane? And she said, no, I've never been to Thetford. You know, and I'm thinking, well, you know, you've ought to come and have a look. And we, you know, to do a Mill Lane isn't a quiet road. It's not a quiet lane. So it's a really busy thoroughfare. Mr. Reid, if this application goes ahead, has got to have behind him buildings overlooking. Yeah. And, you know, it's just been on and on and on. And it seems to be to last resort now that they're coming, brought it down to one building, etc., etc. But it's not safe for traffic on the Mill Lane. It's not great for the historical side with the Ethelred thing there. And it's definitely not safe on the ecological thing. I don't understand why Brecon or anyone wouldn't take any notice of a bat survey. We did a bat survey and allotments, put the figures in, and it was accepted. So I don't see why, you know, why we can't. We do have qualified people on our council now who can do bat surveys free. Yeah, you know, so we can do, you know, but I'm definitely committed to this again. This consent for access.
Thank you. I've got Dave, then Mike.
The previous hearing on this, I took photographs of that entrance, exit, those points, and there was cars parked on the bend. So if anything came round that bend, nothing coming out of that access would be visible. It's a hazard, and I will. It's a hazard, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Chair. I'm a bit surprised to hear Mill Lane described as a rat run. It's the shortest route from a number of roads off Nuns Bridges Road to get to that side of the town. It's a perfectly logical route, and it will continue to be so. And as there is more housing developed there, it will only become more busy. I just think that we have to accept that Mill Lane is almost as vulnerable, not as vulnerable as Bury Road. They're both bad choices to have to exit onto from a narrow entrance. Drivers on Mill Lane have to avoid not only roads running onto Mill Lane, they have to avoid chicanes. There is a corner. There are parked vehicles. It's used because it has to be, but it's also extremely awkward to use. And to add one more problem seems to me very unwise. I think it is a danger. It is a safety issue, and we should be pursuing safety, which is one of the key issues in the planning process. We've got to make sure that what we do object to, assuming we do, is relevant to the planning process, and this clearly is.
Thank you, Mike. Terry.
Yep. I think fundamentally this is a good example of square peg, round hole, because this has gone back and forth for years with amendments and modifications. But the fundamental point is it's still a square peg and it's still a round hole. It's not going to work. It's a classic example, sort of infill development, and frankly, it's not suitable for any development for a whole range of reasons, no matter the sort of tinkering of the actual application. There's a couple of things I think we should be doing. First of all, not asking for, but insisting on up-to-date surveying, and pointing out that the reports before us are contrary to our local knowledge. I think that's a really important point. We have a body of knowledge in this room that is contrary to what's before us because it's out of date. So we absolutely need to insist, and Brecon should be insisting. Dispute, and I think it's worth repeating the dispute with Highways in relation to their description about the road, because again, our local knowledge confirms that it's not a quiet country lane, it is actually a very busy road. And one of the most fundamental challenges with this site is the access onto the road. And I also think we should comment and say that we support the district councillors for that area calling in the application before the planning committee. I'd hate this to be determined by officers. It needs to be determined by the planning committee, and we should state that we ask for it to go to the committee.
Thank you, Terry. Any others at all? One last attack then, Mr. Reeve. You will get a job on our planning committee. You do know that.
Sorry, I won't keep you much longer, but it's with planning approvals, it seems that the key question is whether the benefit outweighs the harm. And that just isn't the case here, where we're just providing two houses on a backland development surrounded by 21 homes, existing homes. So we're going to have noise, pollution, overlooking. And I just think it's so dangerous in terms of highway safety that I worry quite seriously.
Thank you very much. I think we'll call it quits on that one, unless you've got anything else, Mark.
Just going to say, when it comes to submitting comments, just remind members that what we're actually being asked to comment on at this stage on this consultation is the amendment to the structural survey note and the proposed site plan. So I think council's opinions are quite clear on the development as a whole, but if you wish to submit comments at this stage further, then it should probably concentrate really on those two matters.
Okay, thank you. Right, well, we've all had a little bit of planning training, and this is probably the most difficult conundrum that would fit in any of those questions that we cast for the training. But I do think it still sits within the highways piece, and that is the vehicular access. So I think it's still important that we keep mentioning that. And I absolutely agree with Terry that we do need up-to-date information if we're going to agree to anything. I also agree with Councillor Land because, you know, this is one of the worst drawings I've ever seen. It doesn't matter how much you try and make it larger. It does feel sometimes that they just do that on purpose. So I think we should comment on that also, because it's difficult for us to make a proper decision when it's such a poor drawing. Is there anything anybody would like to add to that before we send that away once more, Terry?
Just on the wording, I think Mark's point is quite valid. We should word it that the amendments to the vehicle access onto Mill Lane fail to address our long-standing concerns about safety.
Thank you. Mr. Reeve, sir, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right.
It's the worst.
Mill Lane.
Yes, we're back on to 343.
Yeah.
Illuminated fascia signs and one illuminated projecting logo sign, Berry Road.
Thank you, Chair. So, yeah, the,
Sorry, we've got this on our plan, but they're already up.
Oh, really?
Retrospective.
It isn't retrospective now.
We can't fuel.
Passed it today.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's at the end, they're up.
They were finishing it off and I went home yesterday.
We saw it the other day.
Cheers, Vic.
Putting it the other day.
application form again.
Illuminated at the moment.
Well, it's daytime, so
That's
that's-
the ones on a fascia sign.
they are better than go up.
It wouldn't make, it wouldn't be up to date anyway.
Definitely up this afternoon.
Really?
They've been very slow in updating the decisions onto the planning portal. So it's quite a delay.
Because there's plenty of other things that are decided.
Yeah.
Why isn't that one?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody commented on that.
Yeah, it's still saying undecided. I can, as I say, I'm checking through the application form if you wish to see if it's saying.
Road. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, illuminated, and yeah, absolutely.
So I think while we're looking for
Yeah,
that,
are you going to, just, do you want to assess it anyway?
yeah, I think we'll assess it anyway. It's come to us in planning. The question is, are we happy with illuminated signs on that area? Any questions? Any points? Okay, Carla, thank you. You're on.
Particularly now. That's to understand. I mean, Barry Road is one of the main entrances to the town, so much about keeping within the look of a conservative area and keeping with the aesthetics of, the street homes and blah, 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 that we've been banging on the board for quite a while. I think illuminated things on our main road are not particularly in keeping with that ideal. However, they did say, I did say that, the signs are already up, so at what point we can ask them to replace this with something else. I find this quite difficult, so I'm going to leave it to the rest of the group to come up with new ideas.
Thank you, Terry, then Matt.
Yep, just 2 points. I think, firstly, when commenting, we should make a point about the retrospective nature. I think it's frustrating when large corporations, and they're a reasonably large organisation, they should be getting their planning applications in good time to allow them to do any work, not doing it at the same time. We've got to go through the proper processes. I know we don't refer to it very often, but we do have an adopted town council planning policy. And section 2.4 talks about illuminated signs. The town council opposes all internally and externally illuminated signs within the conservation area. And I'm fairly certain, I've got the map in front of me, but I thought Berry Road and Old Berry Road and Mill Lane were still part of the conservation area. So as much as I'm pleased to see the building being used and to see a new business going in there, illuminated signs do detract from conservation areas, and I think that's unfortunate. I don't see the benefit to illumination over non-illumination.
No, Matt, please.
Two things. One is I fail to see as to why, in my head, a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 business needs an illuminated sign. They're not going to be operating at midnight. It's a daytime business with weekends, I assume, as well. I don't understand the need for nighttime illumination. And second of all, I think we always need to pay a little bit of due care to illuminated signs because of how the casino has turned out in the town centre, which is appalling to look at. I think paying due care and attention. It's a small, relatively small sign, but look at how the casino's turned out. So I think it should get the due care and attention it needs.
Thank you, Mike and Carla.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm amazed at the need for any signs here, and I've continued to wonder at the face of developers and so on in the size of signs and the sharpness of signs. I can imagine a situation where members of the public, perhaps strangers or tourists, can be driving along Bury Road and they see an illuminated sign like this and say to themselves, "My goodness, why don't we organise a funeral?" It is just totally unnecessary, and I think we should stand against it in a decent part of town, which this will not help improve.
Thank you, Carla.
Good on you, Mike. You stole part of my words. That's brilliant. I was going to actually make a point, perhaps eliminating signs are because obviously they want to make advertising for their awesome sales. And considering that there's somewhat some competition well established across the road, I can see where they're trying to go with it. Nonetheless, I'm not sure to charge their business acumen, but to charge the ability and safety of having those lights, whether within the historical keeping, which there is every quite well. It seems like the area is still within our conservation area, which was the first point that I made before. And secondly, if you light sign at night time is a busy road and there's a crossing just across the bed. So there's one corner of the bed. How much light pollution is going to interfere with the visibility of somebody's driving there? That would be my second question. Thank you.
Thank you. I missed Fiona, sorry. Viola, sorry. I've got really bad eyesight on that
Sorry,
side, so, and I'll come back to you, Chris.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you're on.
I just wanted to mention the other kind of conservation, there's a climate emergency. Why are we wasting energy on illuminated signs, or why is the car wasting energy? And we know that LED lights are really bad for insects, particularly caterpillars. So if it's not necessary, which it sounds like it's not in keeping with the area, it's illuminated times of day when we don't really need it, why not just have it at all?
Good point. Thank you very much. And it's Chris next.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, as much as I'm really pleased to see the building back in use, because it was empty before, in its previous life, it was a co-op funeral home parlour. So nothing's changed. So I don't really see why they need a sign out to remind people what it is now, when it's been the same for years before. And as Terry quite rightly pointed out, that stretch of the Bury Road is a conservation area. And to have a lit sign.
Agreed. Any more? I think we're absolutely opposite the church. We're right up from some very historic buildings. It seems daft, but not only that, it's also right next to people's houses.
Yeah.
And that's going to be lit all the time. So I think that it's not just about the ambient light, it's for those residents as well. So I think we disagree with it in every respect. The fact that they've started doing it is even more galling. But I think our response is, and in light of it's a really bad pun, isn't it? In view of our planning permissions for that area, we don't want to do it. And we're going to object to that as strongly as we can. What we can do to have it taken down retrospectively, I don't know.
Just to confirm from the application form, they are saying the advertisement is not already in place for their application.
Can I just add, Chair, I've checked the map and it is within the conservation area, so I absolutely think we should be mentioning that.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, just one more, Stuart.
Can I just say, as I drove past this afternoon, lights were on.
Okay.
Nobody was there.
Okay. Moving on to our next one, which is, and I've lost it now. Proposed single-story flat roof extension.
So, yes, hopefully you can see, you've got the picture up there with the house in question highlighted, and you've got the plot marked there in red. materials are also listed there generally to match. If we go on to the next page, you can see the existing and proposed elevations for the building there and the ground floor plan. So it's replacing basically a smaller extension we usually can see on the photo with that slightly larger one as planned there. Yeah.
Okay, any comments?
It's
Flat, flat roof, Chris, I'm surprised. Support? Yeah, okay, we're in support of that, thank you. Moving on to 0375.
Yeah, so it's 375 and 376.
Sorry, 375.
Yeah, just a bit pedantic, but it's consultation on for a household and listed building consent, so that it doesn't come with two numbers. So yeah, a site I dare say will be very familiar to everyone. It's marked in red on the top there. You can go down a little bit lower for the sort of view of the building. On the next page, we can see the proposed extension work in blue on the plan on the right. And again, just slightly lower down, you can see the floor plans. And again, it's the same coloration, blue on the right there, the top right. So it's spun around compared to the previous view, but it is the extension there, the rear extension is at the top of those plans, where the table is marked. And if we go on to the next one, you can see how that will affect the next floor up, basically. So you've got that that roof, sloping roof there, again marked in blue, and you can see the two pictures just slightly below there, showing the current arrangements, which so the building has had sort of extensions before. The proposal is that infill bit in the middle, in effect. Which you can also see on the side elevation, which is just below there. And then on the next page, again, you'll see the rear view, the extension windows marked on there. So, essentially the work, so it's a renovation and kitchen extension. Renovation explains basically what they're going to use that space for, and extension of the kitchen. Then if we go on to the next little bit of text, talks about the materials for the new section. And we can just have a look at the section with the picture. Hopefully you'll be able to see there is that sort of the gap there. So where they say justification, they've had sort of vines on there, and they're worried about the structure of that building. And the mitigation measures, again, as again, I'm not supposed to read it all out. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to have a look at that. As of when I looked at that, there wasn't any other consultation. Has the historic building consultant, has anyone seen anything more up to date? No. So over to you, Chair.
Okay, a bit of a hodgepodge of a building. Any points, please? Carla?
I was just going to ask if there's any comments on this application from anybody, neighbours, any other organisation at all, or it's just
When I
a
last,
single application?
yeah, there wasn't anything when I last looked. Has there been anything since? I haven't had a chance to relook at this one yet, right? But
There's nothing further.
nothing further than that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other points? Without wishing to colour any judgment, I don't think you can see that from the road. So, you know, that's one thing that we might object to ordinarily. Is everybody quite happy for this to go through?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. E 0079.
Yeah, so 79. Again, this is rather a fait accompli because tree preservation order consent has now been granted for this. afraid the picture and the plans are somewhat limited in terms of what actual tree is being proposed, but so really it's one just note rather than comment on in this case.
Noted. I think, has anybody got any points? I think one of the good things about this is at least we're getting some notification about tree work that's being done, because in the past that hasn't always been the case.
The only quick thing I might like to say is it would be nice if we knew what sort of tree it is, because I do think that is material. I mean, if it's an ash, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. With from that,
No,
that is
yeah,
what
what
we've
that
had,
is.
yeah. I think it's most likely a sycamore, but you're right.
But yeah, great.
Well,
So I think that we can absolutely take that point on, say, we're pleased that we've got the report, but we would like reports that detail what kind of tree and what work's being done, because some of the others that are coming up do mention that. Thank you. Okay. So F plan 0075. Consultation non-material amendment.
okay, so according to, if you read the agent's letters to Breckland, it makes the comment which I put there first of all, that they are not proposing changing the description of development, amount of development, or the overall impacts of development. And they're therefore putting this through under a non-material minor amendment, which would therefore generally be an officer decision. Looking through these plans.
Sorry, Mark, just to interrupt. We've got some members of the public here who actually is relevant to them.
Right.
So just to make it quite clear, this is the Kilverston Estate and Crown Estate amendment to some planning to bring forward delivery of circa 300 dwellings from the current phase 4 east of Norwich Road into phase 1 to create a new sub-phase. It is also proposed to bring some of the mixed use area into phase 1 to create a new sub-phase 1 Foxtrot and Kilverstone land north of Thetford. I don't know whether that helps any, but I'm sorry, Mark. Thank you.
No, sorry, Chair. Thank you. So looking at the plans, the areas in question, can we see the first diagrams, please, Alan, where you've got the coloured? Yeah. So on those ones there, I have circled the areas where the phasing seems to be changing. And this is, as I said, according to their letter, this is what they are asking for, is purely a change of phasing, basically. And it's those two areas that, as you say, that are being brought forward from 1 to 4. So I've marked those with this circle. So if you move down to just the next plan, you'll see the changes from that in those two areas. If we have a look at the next plan, which are the more brightly coloured ones, if we could have a look at the first one of those. So looking at these, the top of those two circles that I've marked there, the yellow area is marked for education. So this is, if I remember right, this is the 3rd primary school we're talking about in that area. And if you look at the sort of more flattened oblong bit nearer Kilverston Hall, again, there does seem to be, if you compare that with the next one down, if we could, there does seem to be some relocation of various different facilities in and around those two new sub-phases, if you like. So the school has moved, allotments have moved. The area that's marked primary centre, mixed use area, which is 2 on that picture there. No, sorry, it isn't. It's to the right of 2 on that picture there. It was in just underneath where the school was. Sorry, can we just go back to the first one again? If we look at, yeah, that one. So we've got the school with the mixed use primary centre area just below it. If you compare that with the next one, then those
facilities have moved. So the school has moved further east. The mixed-use area has split into two and has moved to those two other areas, and allotments have also been moved. So there does seem to be, if we look at the plans rather than the wording of the letter, some changes to the locations of some of these facilities as well. With three, but yeah, can we move on to the next plan now, the sort of more greenish one? Yeah, keep going if we can, please. Yeah, that one. So the three smaller allotment areas are being amalgamated into one more patch there. These are changes to the open spaces plan if you're looking on the Brecon website. As that comment at the end says,
Sorry, Mike's not.
has it gone off again? So as that comment at the end of this section says, there isn't actually yet, as I said again, last time I looked, there isn't actually a plan showing the exact locations of subphases 1 and E. I am assuming it's those things that the first set of circles that I showed you that seem to be the bits that are moving from 4 to 1. But we don't actually know from the information that was available to me when I last looked where exactly various buildings are going to be within those subphases. So as I say, I've got relatively limited information to be able to make sort of or to clarify that for you. I'm afraid I can't clarify it any further. It just isn't there at the moment.
Thank you, Mark. That's quite a difficult one to cover, actually. And we did talk about this earlier. You know, essentially, from my perspective, it feels like green spaces moved into a larger plot down near Kilverston, if I was to summarise it. Matt. You're on.
Yeah, thank you. It feels just like the last time they presented this to us, and we did have the chat with Pigeon at the time again, and we said that the explanation given isn't good enough. The terms were agreed at the start, the stages were put in place for a reason, and again, they want to change it. They state that they want to increase the delivery of new homes, including social housing, but by moving the stage forward, they're actually moving moving a different stage back, which has more social housing in it. So they're moving a stage forward to do less social housing, which sounds quite interesting. Also, the combination of the 3 small allotments scattered around to just make one bigger allotment, for me, seems like they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. None of the 6 points that they made make an impact, really, by moving the stages around. I have concerns about what the real reasons are here and there, so probably for money, in all honesty.
Thank you. Any other comments? Chris.
Yeah, I do. The allotment issue is something dear to my heart. If this goes ahead, there'll be allotments that we have no control over because they're not in Thetford. So, you know, we've got no control whatsoever over this new build. I don't understand why they're jumping, as what Matt said regarding the social support housing. It's got to be down to finance, you know, but the control bothers me. It really does. I mean, we're going to have mixed space areas, allotments, etc. that the town council has no control over.
I think another important point on this, you're absolutely right, Chris, is that, yeah, the residents of that area do pay to Preem as well for the land management. And so if all the future land and facilities that you're getting are being moved to another stage further away, then you're still paying for something you're not actually getting, in my my thoughts. Now, I'm just very conscious, we've got 2 people sat there who are living in that area. Unless we're completely on the wrong track, is there anything you would like to mention on that? Please, Phil.
Well, I hear from them first.
So thank you for the opportunity. From my side, it seems to me that if I was having put the amount of money that they have into infrastructure to the east side of the railway, they would want to maximise that profit. They want to capitalise on that before they have to do the same to the west side of the railway, because the two are not going to be in any way compatible. So my thought is, if I was Bridget, that's exactly what I want to do. One of the things I have done is looked at the response from the parish council in Kilford, and they're up in arms about this proposal, because originally apparently the plan was for boundary changes to include that area for 4 and 5 as the correction, the ones just to the east of Norwich Road, so that they would become part of Thetford rather than Kilford. And then apart from all of the other issues that they have with it not being rural and country roads and cars and the stuff that they made in 2011, they're also saying now that the changes that were planned under the 2011 haven't happened. There hasn't been a change of Thetford Town Council to include this SUE, is it sustainable extension?
That's right.
So they're in no position to take on that amount of housing and manage it under their own parish council.
Just from a personal point of view, how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's lovely to come out of our house and see a green field. That was always going to change. The only difference is that wasn't going to change until the 2034 to 2044 period, whereas if it's now going to be imminent, what's that going to change for our? I have been on a new council estate before when I bought, and I've never been on one this slope. They are always rushing. Now, I don't know whether that's a sign of the market, or what they're building, where they're building it, I don't know. But I don't get the feeling that things are going particularly swimming.
Thank you very much. Terry.
Yeah, I'm glad the gentleman picked up the point about Kilston and Bretton Parish Council, because on the planning portal they have submitted a fairly detailed objection. And I think the easiest thing for us to do would be to essentially use that objection and reword it to suit ourselves, because it is very clear from a planning point of view what the objection is. Specifically, it says the parish council wishes to retain a clear distinction between the sustainable urban extension and Thetford Town and those within Kilston parish. And it points out specifically the parish council notes with concern that the plans for phase 4 include some of the highest density elements and high-rise elements, multiple storey properties, and believes that they would be counter to the rural nature of Kilston parish. So essentially, it's the area opposite Tesco is due to be the highest density and the tallest properties, which is not in keeping with the area, and I think that would be our main concern. Well, I think our main concern would be that the boundary hasn't changed like we were told it would do to incorporate the area, but that's not a planning objection. But I do think there are some legitimate planning objections which the Kilston Parish Council have captured, so don't reinvent the wheel, just reinforce the same points.
No, I think we can definitely join together on this. Any other points? One more colour.
Just to make a point that one of the things that when Peter visited me, we had a talk with them. One of the points that was kept with me is that they need to make sales on property market homes to be able to then reinvest and build the percentage that it's like social housing. I have no idea what the cash flow is for Pigeon, and I know that I'm going to get into it. Let's just say that I can understand why they want to switch things around, because it is convenient, financially wise. It's business. However, that doesn't suit residents. It doesn't suit us to have applications coming in with the surfaces being changed around every second month, because all of a sudden they decide they want to do a section first and a second. You know, they were here, they visited, they gave an explanation, they justify why they changed a few things around, and now we find ourselves with more changes that do not benefit the residents. Not the ones that live there, not the ones that everyone there, which don't, ultimately be impacted by these new extensions. So I would be very reluctant in approving any more changes to the plans without either having a good sit with Pigeon and when working out why and how to go forward, or to approve any changes going forward at all without having the residents on board. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we've all hit on the point that the slow build and the costs financially, it's better for them to have more houses. So I think on that note, we will do exactly as Terry said. We will mirror exactly what Kilston have done and put our complaint in that manner. but I don't think it'll be the last we ever hear it. Okay, moving on to G, plan 81, the consultation for TPO.
Yes, I mean, perhaps we could actually take 8.1 and 8.2 together, so if you like. They are both, they're not on the same property, but they are both, again, ones to note rather than to comment on at this stage. 81, it does say what tree it is. It's Scots Pine, 21 Nunsgate. TPO work, tree preservation order, consent has been given for work on that to fell and replace. And 82, King's House, which may be familiar to some people around this building, tree and the conservation work, the willow pollard, again, consent has been given for that.
Any points? No. Happy to agree and note. Thank you very much. Okay. J, plan 241, full consultation for Essex Cat Converters Limited. I think that's the bits on exhaust rather than cats. So change of use from general industrial, Class B2, to scrap metal dealer site, sui generis, 10 Audley Court, Thetford. Mark.
Yeah, so basically, we're looking at Audley Court. So this would be a new business, so there's no details yet on our number of employees or opening hours, but it's on the industrial estate. You can see the red area there. If we move on to the aerial view of the photo, please. So again, the yellow arrows point to it in amongst the rest of the buildings there. And if we just go down one again, the yellow arrow points to the unit in question in the context of the other one. So it's basically in the middle of that block. Again, next plan also shown red, the relevant unit. And the only internal change, if we have a look at the next thing, is to add a kitchen within that unit. So yeah, basically this is nothing really changing, certainly from the outside of the building, but it is wishing to have a change of use under the sui generis, sort of non-specific system, in effect, to allow that to be used for scrap metal dealers.
Very pleased.
Thank you, Chair. I know this area. There doesn't seem to be any mention of what sort of traffic would be used for this. It's not an area where you could easily or comfortably get an Arctic in or out. So I wonder if that might be a problem. Scrap metal could be anything from a van to a 44-ton truck. So I think in those terms, I don't think we've got enough information to make a full judgment on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Good point. Any others, Stuart?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, along with Terry's sentiments there, it's not, yes, that is an industrial estate, but it's not the biggest area to actually house Arctics, etc., to go into there. Being a Dex delivery driver myself, that bit of the industrial estate is quite small and does get quite busy in and out of that area. I'm sure there's some bigger units on that estate that would be sort of cater for that business, other than the small bit there.
On the subject of that, Chair, I have noticed there is now a highway comment. They have no objection.
I'm not surprised. They rarely object to anything. I think what I'm hearing is we want to ask a question about what the traffic management is, what type of vehicles are going to be coming to that. So until we get that information, I don't think we can agree to it. Are we all content with that? Thank you. Moving on to, and I believe that's late planning now. Late planning 1724. discuss and agree the planning that we've got at the back end there. Have you got those, Mark?
I've got 407 next on my list.
Have you? I haven't.
10 Almond Grove.
That is a late one.
That is the late. So,
Apologies. Yeah, that is a late application.
oh, sorry, item 1724, plan 407, yes. Yeah, we are actually talking about the same one. That's good. Yeah, so very single story front and rear extensions, including alterations to the garage. So 10 Almond Grove. Actually, if we could go through to the next page first, because I've done this slightly in the wrong order, really. So that's the view of it. So it's, and the address is Almond Grove. That's actually on, it's on Elm Street, Elm Road? Yeah. So that's where you're looking at there. The front door is the other side. And that's sort of and you can see from the plans, the sort of location in the building in the context of Almond Road and Elm Road. So this is not, you're not being asked to consider the extensions as a whole. Again, this is purely on a change to the location of the windows. So, yeah, sorry, if we could go back to the actual plans. So if you look at the original proposal at the top, you can see where the windows are there. And if we move down to the same revised proposal, so the windows have moved slightly. And the only other thing that may be worth mentioning, if we just go past the picture now, there is you can see the side elevation as existing. So you can see again from the photo that there is that small sort of conservatory type extension existing. That's going to be replaced by as I said, the front and rear extensions that have already been submitted, but this is about the change of location of the windows.
Any comments at all?
Agreed.
Yeah, we're all quite content with those. Thank you. That's our last one. More, Alan? Nothing?
Right.
Okay, 1724, thank you.
Have you finished my
Yes.
questions? Thank you very much.
1724, late planning applications we've done. 1834, decisions of variance.
None.
None, thank you. Any items to be referred to the Greater Thetford Partnership? None, thank you. Community engagement? None, thank you. Committee officers update. I think I've seen that sheet, so I'm guessing.
What I've done is we had the planning with the Breckland planning officers at the end of April, beginning of May, and they said that they'd approached one of the parish councils who have a planning checklist, and so I managed to get hold of that. I've kind of gone through it and set it out. But what they use it for is to ensure that all the comments that they make for type of development are consistent. I haven't had the chance to talk to Mark, so I think he was a bit worried when he first saw these pieces of paper floating around. So I'm going to see if I can sit down with Mark and we can come up with something very relevant to Thetford, and it will actually help us comment on some of the things. And this, the planning officer who sits in the planning committee recommended something like this that would help us be very consistent in our comments and ensure that we cover most of the areas. So this is just the first draft. It replaces the checklists that they'd all be dished out, because they say that those are not comprehensive, but they keep changing. This will also make some effort. So it's really just there for future effort. Hopefully at the next meeting, we will actually focus our comments around these particular issues, if possible. I'm looking at Mark, he's probably going to hate me after this, but.
Well, you write the comments as well. I think just a general point from previous experience, it is useful if you put it in the wording there, expecting to hear it, because then it just sort of lights up a particular box for them. So if you can write comments in a format, as I say, the form of words that the planning officers are used to and understand, and it will have potentially more weight. I think that's definitely true.
Thanks, Mark. Your attendance to this is much appreciated for planning, and I think our recent planning training highlighted that exact point when we spoke to the officers. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Sorry.
We also discussed forming the town plan during that training session to get some kind of guidance from other towns who also have a local town plan. And I didn't know if we've made any progress on that at all.
No.
It's in our minds that we are going down that road of perhaps having a town plan.
If I can comment, I think the understanding was our key thing is to contribute to the development of the Breckland local plan.
Yeah.
And from that Breckland local plan, any other plan that we produce, he was talking about neighbourhood plans and things like that,
yeah,
they would be informed and they would then have some right. But at the moment, the Breckland local plan will override any plan that we had. So if we can input into that and then develop our own plans flowing out of that.
I think the major point on that was areas of unused space, wasn't it, on our town plan?
Yeah.
And if we don't capture that soon, some of those spaces will be lost. Yeah. So I do agree with you. It's something we must, invest in, even though there are other plans sitting around it. So we must not forget it. And thanks for that. Normal service will be resumed next week, I hope. I won't be doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
I have signed that.